We've got the combine this week. We've got free agency coming up. So, what better way to celebrate both of those things than with yet another mock draft? And I'm joined, as ever, by brother and co-host of the channel, Nick Corbs. How you doing?
Not too bad, Dom. I feel like I'm just as much an expert as all the PFF guys you get on. So I'm looking forward to getting to this mock draft.
You definitely are. That's the beauty of the draft, Nu. It's all subjective. You know, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. So what me and Nu are going to do is we're going to alternate our draft picks. We're going to go through the top 10 fairly quickly. I think they're all fairly well-known prospects at this point. They've been discussed ad nauseum. If you want to see our takes on those guys, you can go and watch the other videos. But if you haven't already, make sure you've subscribed for more NFL draft content because some of the best in the business here, Nu. Like I said, me, you, PFF guys, Theo Ash, just a hive mind of great draft takes, and this is going to be no different. So I will start with the Titans with the first overall pick. Nu will be 2 and 3. We're not going to be doing trades at this point. I think we'll start to weave those in, Nu, after free agency and after the combine. We're just going to do it pure. So first overall pick, the Titans are on the clock. And you know what? I think it's that time where we can start weaving in a bit more prediction stuff. And I'm going to go with Travis Hunter here, the wide receiver cornerback from Colorado. I've been an Abdul Carter guy. I've been a Cam Ward guy. Part of mock draft is kind of seeing different scenarios. And I think Travis Hunter is going to be the number one player on a lot of teams' boards, Nu, I think. And actually, he is right now the best player in this draft class, maybe 1A and 1B with Ashton Genty. Abdul Carter could be the best, but I think his is a ceiling question. Whereas with Travis Hunter, the Titans GM have said that they're going to draft the quote unquote generational player at the first overall spot. They're not going to pass on anyone. They're going to take the generational guy. And Travis Hunter is a generational prospect, but in the sense that he can play wide receiver and can play cornerback, not in the sense that he is generational at either wide receiver or cornerback. I've said it before and I'll say it a million times. I would draft this guy to play cornerback full-time, then have him come on for 10 to 15 snaps a game at wide receiver. But that is my first overall pick. I think he's worthy of the first overall pick, definitely. Just maybe not the in vogue selection at the moment, but I think when draft time comes back round, we'll see Hunter back in the number one fold now.
Yeah, Dom, that's more a prediction rather than a personal choice for me. I think he's a good player. I think you got to take a quarterback at the number one overall pick, but I think what you're saying is completely valid.
I disagree. I'm all on board, I think, at this point for the Titans not taking a quarterback with the first overall pick.
Well, that leaves me with the Browns then, and I'm also not going to take a quarterback. I think these Myles Garrett rumors, well, he wants to trade, do have a lot of weight to them. And if I'm the Browns, it's a no-brainer. You trade Myles Garrett, you get Abdul Carter, who he's not going to get 20 sacks as a rookie year, but he definitely could get there. He definitely has that potential. And it also gives you value to trade up next year in what is most likely a stronger quarterback draft class. So this GM has any foresight. You take Abdul Carter and you trade Myles Garrett for at least a next year 1 or a next year 2.
Yeah, so Abdul Carter's the pick then, Nu, yeah?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, I agree. I think Carter's got the highest ceiling in this class. Like I just said, I think he could be the best player. He's also the quote-unquote Myles Garrett replacement. Obviously, I don't think anyone can replace Myles Garrett. He's one of the best defensive players. I think he's the best defensive player in the league and has been for the last 2 or 3 years, basically since Aaron Donald retired. And I agree, Nu. I think that not taking a quarterback here is the right decision for the Browns. Your team is awful. You've got your best player who's requested a trade, and I think that's going to happen. I don't think Myles Garrett is bluffing to try and get more money. I think he wants to win, and he's not going to do it at the Browns. So, a quarterback's not going to save your team. Just take Carter, take the picks you get from Myles Garrett, just begin your, third rebuild in 5 years. But look, the Browns are going to be the Browns, aren't they? Now, I've got your Giants at 3. If I had the stones, I don't think I'd go with a quarterback here, but the Giants have to draft a quarterback. I think the Giants are the most quarterback needy team in this draft with them and the Raiders. And if this were to happen, which I really think is fairly likely, to be fair, I really don't know if teams are going to be ringing to trade up for these quarterbacks, either Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, honestly, when it's all said and done. I'm going to, though, obviously take Cam Ward, the quarterback from Miami. He's my number one prospect. Not my number one prospect, good grief. He's my 8th, 9th ranked prospect. He might even fall outside my top 10 on my final big board. But he's a clear QB1 in this class for me, Nu. He's got the arm talent to, rival that of the elite quarterbacks like the Mahomeses, the Josh Allens, the Justin Herberts of the world, which I think is really helpful for trying to actually beat those guys, right? Like if you have a quarterback that can play like that to a degree, off structure, big arm talent, can make all the throws from different arm angles. I think that's so important. And I do think that Cam Ward would help the Giants get better. I think Cam Ward is a quarterback that you can win because of, not just with. And with Malik Nabers there at wide receiver, I think they're onto something. But look, if I'm being honest, Cam Ward would be my QB4 in last year's class. So not all QB1s are created equal.
And as a Giants fan, I would love this. If Cam Ward falls to 3, that is a run-in-the-card pick. I think that is an absolute no-brainer. He's probably going to sit behind a vet. Russell Wilson's been linked heavily. Even Matthew Stafford has been linked to the Giants. That's probably how badly they need a quarterback. So Cam Ward would be a great pick for the Giants. So now,
would you trade this pick for Matt Stafford?
No, not in a million years.
Good.
No, okay, if you're saying trade the 3rd overall pick for Matt Stafford, you are an idiot.
Yeah.
That is. I don't believe that's an actual take that any real NFL GMs claim. I've seen that online as well, but I think that's just keyboard warriors, Dom. Unlike you and me, who are the real draft analysts.
Yeah, exactly.
So now I've got 4 with the Patriots, and then there's 2 picks here. And I think I'm going to go with my now number 2 overall player, who's Abdul Qasim number 1, but my now number 2 overall player, Tetairoa McMillan, the wide receiver out of Arizona. And he can really be Drake May's best friend. And obviously line is a big issue here, but I don't think Will Campbell has enough value. I think Tetairoa McMillan is a better player than Will Campbell. And if picking this high in the draft, you have to do best player available. Tetairoa McMillan, he's big, he's fast, great hands, got really that 1A potential in the league. Really that out-and-out number 1 receiver. And he's my 2nd overall player on my board. Like I said, Dom, I think he's a great fit at the Patriots.
He's my 2nd overall player on the board as well, and he would have been who I would pick here 100%. I love McMillan. I'm just about to kind of finalize my draft profile on him, so again, make sure you subscribe to not miss that. But what I love about McMillan is obviously he's a yards after the catch demon. He's a missed tackles force machine. Like, this guy who has just like a few, like 50, 60, 70 yards after the catch less over his career than Malik Nabers, who is literally renowned for being a yak weapon. Like, McMillan is 6'4", 6'5", 212 pounds, but plays like a 6 foot, 200 pound wide receiver. Like, he's so good after the catch. He's so good with the ball in his hands. Like, don't let that frame misguide you into thinking that he could be a Mike Evans kind of receiver. He should be a CeeDee Lamb kind of receiver. Like, if you had, and what I love about McMillan, actually, seeing him play with Nerva Fita, who's his quarterback that he's played with all through high school, he is so good at working back to the quarterback when the play breaks down, finding the space in between zones when the play breaks down. And the way that Drake May plays the game is so in tune with how McMillan plays the game. Like, these two could literally be on I could see it being a Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes-esque kind of like hybrid? Hive mind. Like, they both just know what to do when the play breaks down. Drake May obviously thrives in that kind of aspect. We saw it in the Titans game where he held onto the ball for like 8 seconds to like put that game into overtime. I think it's such a great pairing. I agree line is a need, but McMillan is the better player. I'm completely with you there, Nu. Jags at 5 on the clock. Mason Graham. Like, this, I think Mason Graham is falling victim to prospect fatigue a little bit. He is so good. I compare him, Nu, to a human XL bully. Like, he is just rocked up, 6'3", 330 pounds. That's 24th percentile height, 84th percentile weight. Like, he is absolutely rocked up. He's so explosive, really strong, active hands. He's, I think, for my money, a top 5 player in this draft class. And I think he's a force multiplier along the defensive line. I think he's going to help Trayvon Walker. I think he's going to help Josh Hines-Allen. Like, the Jags could really start to have a really dominant defensive line with Mason Graham in the middle. And I think this is a home run pick. It might not be sexy, it might not be exciting, but trust me, he is a fantastic player.
He's a very good player, Dom. I'm not sure if I'd call him an XL bully to his face, though. I think I'd probably end up like one of those toddlers. But yeah, Dom, like you said, there's nothing wrong with being a really good prospect. And I think it's just because there's not that many flaws, not that many superstar plays. They're just not getting a lot of coverage in this draft cycle. But that does not mean he's any less of a player. Does not mean he's any less of a prospect. And I think at 5, I don't think the value's too bad either. Okay, so now with the Vegas Raiders at number 6 here. And I always struggle with this draft pick because there's basically any direction you can go. What do you need? What do you give a team that needs everything?
Yeah.
But here, what I've been sort of setting on recently is Luther Burden, the wide receiver out of Missouri.
Really? Are you gonna take Burden here, not Sanders?
I am. Oh my god, sorry. I completely forgot Sanders has fallen to the board. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Give me Sanders. Sorry, I'm just so used to Sanders
I
being
know.
at the Giants
It's
at
not.
3.
We've not done a draft where he's fallen.
No. Sorry, excuse me then. Oh yeah, of course Shador Sanders, you wanted that pick in. So George Sanders. Who are the Raiders quarterbacks at the moment? You've got AOC, Aiden O'Connell.
And it was Gardner Minshew.
Is he still on contract? I thought he might have just been a 1 year.
Either way, the Raiders and the Giants are 1A, 1B with quarterback need, right? Like they desperately need a quarterback. And if this is, and like Shador Sanders, Raiders, like it's one of the teams that Deion Sanders will let his son play for, quote unquote, that ridiculous
big market
narrative.
Team.
And yeah, you're right. The Raiders need so many different things, right? They need defensive help. They need wide receiver help, running back help, quarterback help. They do, though, have a pretty decent offensive line, which Shador Sanders requires, I think, like immediately. And I think, with Brock Bowers, he could kind of like distribute the ball pretty well. I don't, though, see, at least from my perspective, and chime in here, is I don't see Shador Sanders as a quarterback that you can win because he's a quarterback that you can win with. He's kind of like tofu. If you surrounded him with great talent, then he could be great. But when you put him in the Raiders with, basically nothing apart from an offensive line, I think Sanders and the Raiders would struggle.
Well, so I've been watching a lot more Sanders film, and obviously the Geno Smith comparisons happened a lot. But I really like Jared Goff, personally, as a comparison, especially coming out of Cal.
Yeah.
I think they're very similar players. I think they're probably similar level prospects as well. And I don't think he's that bad a prospect. PFF have him ranked, I think, 44th or whatever. I think they're trying too hard to be trendy there. He is a good prospect. He's top 15 for me. The second best quarterback, which obviously ups his value. And I do not think this is a bad pick. I think I'd be happy with him at 3 at the Giants. I do not see him falling below 6 in this draft. At worst, below 15. But really, I don't see him getting out of the top 10. Someone will jump up to get him if he starts to slide.
I like the Jared Goff comp. I think that's a good one in terms of like look at his success with the Lions. He was obviously successful with the Rams when he was with Sean McVay. Like not the most physically gifted quarterback by any means, and neither is Sanders. His arm strength. I mean, he's not going to throw at the combine in a few days' time.
I thought he was doing full practice.
No, he's not throwing at the combine. He doesn't want to throw next to Cam Ward. Doesn't want to throw next to Tyler Shough. Like he's got a weak arm and he's not going to thrive there. So why would he risk his draft stock like that? But I agree, and he didn't throw at the Shrine Bowl either. Like. Shador Sanders, scared to compete. No, I'm joking. I hate when people say that. But I do think Sanders is obviously trying to hide his weaker arm talent, which, look, is understandable, but he does have it. And I think if you have a quarterback that doesn't have top-tier physical traits, like either athleticism or arm strength, it's quite hard to win and elevate a team. Joe Burrow is the only outlier there, in a world
didn't even make the playoffs, though. So, like, it doesn't... Well, exactly, you can only elevate a team so far.
Well, exactly. But in a world of Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, these guys are all physically dominant. And Joe Burrow is the only one that breaks that mold because he's such an elite passer. Shador Sanders, not that. But look, I think 6 is very realistic. Is it me? It's me with the Jets then at 7. They've got a lot of free agents. I would like not Will Campbell. I'd like Mason Graham to fall here. They have Javon Kinlaw's a free agent and things like that. They are probably going to lose DJ Reed as well, their second cornerback opposite what's his name? Sauce. Cornerback here I don't love, though. Like Will Johnson at 7. Yeah, I don't hate it, but I'm actually going to go with what I've seen from quite a few people and what I would do myself here, and that's going Tyler Warren at 7.
Oh, wow, okay. I like that pick. I'm a big Tyler Warren man.
So am I. I mean, it's as simple as they were they weren't kind of. They were linked with Brock Bowers last year. That's it. They were linked with Brock Bowers. And imagine what this Jets team would look like with Brock Bowers now. Like, they're not moving forward with Aaron Rodgers, so they're going to lose Devontae Adams. He's not going to hang around in New York for a rebuild, basically. Obviously, there's no quarterback here that I would take whatsoever. And wide receiver as well. I like Luther Burden, but I think he overlaps a lot with Garrett Wilson's skill set in terms of being like a shiftier, like dynamic yards after the catch kind of guy. Warren, though, I think is a great complement to Garrett Wilson's skill set. Like, he's going to be a big, wide tight end. He can move all over the offensive formation. He can play traditional tight end. He can play out wide. He can play in the slot. He's literally played at wildcat quarterback, and he's just an offensive Swiss Army knife in the same way that Brock Bowers was. And look at what he's done for the Raiders without a quarterback, without literally anyone else to talk of on that offense. He had a record-breaking rookie season. And I can see Tyler Warren having a similar impact for the Jets, which honestly, like, they really need. If Garrett Wilson wasn't on that team, wide receiver would be a humongous need. And I think you need to have more than just one passing option, is my opinion.
Yeah, Dom, the only issue is with the Jets. Obviously, quarterback, I don't think there's anywhere on there for value. But you say the Jets and Giants and Raiders need a quarterback. The Jets, I actually don't think they have one tenured. I'd be shocked if they even had one.
Jordan
on the
Travis, mate. Jordan Travis, Florida State
Jordan
legend.
Travis at FSU broke his leg last year.
Yeah.
I reckon they are the odds-on favourites to get Justin Fields, and I think that would be a good fit. And especially if they get Fields, I think Tyler Warren would be a great fit. So depending on free agency, which is coming up in a couple of weeks, if Fields goes to the Jets, run that card in for Tyler Warren.
Yeah, I like that. I like that run game. Oh,
yeah, it would look good. Okay, so now I've got the Carolina Panthers here, and
tricky. Right?
This is hard, Dom, because I'm a big Will Johnson guy. I have no idea why PFF have suddenly gone low on him. He is the best corner in this draft, and I don't think it's that close. I'm such a big fan of him. At the same time, I love the idea of Luther Burden, giving them an extra receiving weapon, and it's what's more valuable. And I think you put so much capital into Bryce Young, you have to give him the weapons to succeed. So let's go Luther Burden here, the wide receiver out of Missouri.
Yeah, I like that pick from you, New. I like that pick. I really like Burden. I've been rewatching him again for the wide receiver stuff. He's my 13th ranked prospect. He's a playmaker, Luther Burden. Like he is a watered down Malik Neighbors. Yes, he's had a down year, but I think the 2023 Burden is the version of Luther Burden that we'll get in the draft. And you're totally right, New. Like the receiving threats for the Panthers is just not it. You've got Jalen Coker. Yeah, he could be a nice kind of wide receiver 3. You've got Xavier Legette, who you hope will be that kind of big body threat, but definitely did not show enough last year for you to feel really comfortable about him. And then obviously Adam Thielen, who Luther Burden would kind of replace. But look, Thielen's a good 3. But yeah, you need that dynamism, which frankly you're lacking in the Panthers wide receiver room. And you're right. Bryce Young showing that he can be the quarterback for this team. Give him another weapon. They have the offensive line ready to go. I think defense is a massive need. But I think unless you're going to get a Mason Graham, I might have gone edge there myself, but I like the Burden pick. Saints at 9. This team is
it's cooked.
Is absolutely cooked. It's best player available. I said this so many times, but it's Genty is the best player, and they've got Kamara. I mean, like, I know it wouldn't stop me per se, but like, I would have gone Luther Burden if he was on the board. Defensive line, James Pierce Jr. Offensive line, Will Campbell, tight end, Tyler Warren's gone. This is the first hard pick, I think. And I always struggle with the Saints. I always find it really difficult to work out where I go here. Like Kenneth Grant, I quite like. It might be a bit high, but like, I think he's really good. Oh God, this is a blooming nightmare. I'm gonna stick to my board personally, and I'm gonna go with James Pierce Jr. I'm a big James Pierce Jr. believer. He's my 11th ranked player. I think he's so explosive. His first step off the ball is already elite. He's really good. Like, he's got a 22.2% pass rush win rate, 59 pressures, 8 sacks, but he's actually not that refined as a pass rusher yet. So I think he's even better. He could be even better than what he's already produced in college. I think people are a little bit lower on him because he had that first overall pick hype, and there are some character concerns apparently which are beginning to come out. I obviously know nothing about that, and I'm not gonna hold that against him until it's common knowledge. I've not heard anything outside of what everyone else has heard, but until that's confirmed, I'm not going to hold that against a guy. And I think James Pierce Jr. is a really good player, and one that will take time maybe to really reach his full potential. Like, he needs more bend. I think he needs to develop his pass rush moves. But I think as a floor, you're getting a really explosive outside edge rusher, like a wide 9 kind of player. And he's going to be really good. And, it might take 1 or 2 years to realize that potential. But the Saints definitely are not on a Super Bowl clock at the moment.
Yeah, done 1 or 2 years to get his full potential. But you got Cam Jordan there, one of the best, like an older statesman he can learn from. I agree. I think he's a good player. 9's good value. And if you're the Saints, I actually don't think you can go wrong with any of the picks. As long as you pick someone who's vaguely in the rough ballpark of 5 to 15 on people's boards, no one's going to criticize you. No one's going to give you a round of applause. But what can you do? Like, you've got no talent. You've got no cap. You just got to. You're in a terrible position. Pick who falls.
Yeah, just close your eyes and throw a dart at your draft board. Like, it really does not matter for the Saints. 10 for the Bears. I think this is
the easiest pick in the draft. You go for a team, who've got so many holes. The Bears have one of the biggest holes in all of football, offensive line.
Yeah.
And Caleb Williams was the most sacked quarterback in football. You need a good line for his development. Obviously, you've got a great receiver core. Doesn't matter if you can't get the ball out and scrambling every play. Will Campbell is the player here.
Yeah.
More than anything, his versatility is so important. He can play guard, he can play tackle. I think you should probably start him out as guard and maybe move him to tackle. But obviously, free agency's coming up. No matter what, draft Will Campbell if you're the Chicago Bears. He's the best offensive lineman in this draft class, the most versatile, the most plug and play day one, and he will make your team better.
I completely agree. Interestingly, Dane Brugler has spoken to a lot of teams, and he says that like every team he's spoken to has Will Campbell as a tackle, and I would like to see Campbell at tackle. However, for the Bears, they need guard. They need interior offensive line, and Campbell immediately, I think, would be like a great interior offensive line.
I think for sure. I think top 5, top 10 in the league for sure.
Like, yeah, he'd be really good. And he can kick out to tackle maybe if one of the other two guys goes down or whatever. But I think for the Bears, you've got to prioritize Caleb Williams over where a guy might be better for some teams. I think you draft Campbell, kick him inside immediately. He can allow you to get your best 5 offensive linemen out there. So important for the Bears, so important for Caleb Williams. I think that's a home run pick. The 49ers, again, this is going to be super easy for me. I'm going to go with Kelvin Banks Jr., the offensive lineman from Texas. I have him as a tackle. I really like Kelvin Banks Jr. I think he has the ceiling to be the best tackle in this class. I would, however, at the time, I might start him at guard and let him kind of develop there and then maybe kick him outside to replace... why am I blanking on the 49ers tackle?
Obviously, Trent Williams.
Jesus,
Yeah.
Trent Williams. But I really like Banks. Banks for me is actually my 6th ranked player. I'm really high on him. I think he gives you immediately a floor of a really good pass blocker. He's experienced. He's only allowed 1 sack and 8 pressures in 40 games. Not 40 games, sorry, this season. Really good run blocker again. And the 49ers need offensive line help. I think he has slightly shorter in height. He's 6'4", but he's 320 pounds. I think that's kind of perfect for being a guard. He doesn't have that kind of height you'd love at tackle, but I think Banks is going to be so good, and I think the 49ers are going to be a better team with him along the offensive line.
Yep, I think that's a great pick, Tom. What's interesting is, do you have Banks higher than Josh Simmons on your tackle rankings, or do you just think Kelvin Banks is a better fit for the 49ers?
I have Banks higher, but I know people love Simmons.
Yeah, for me, they're 2A and 2B. I literally think there's barely anything separated them. So I'm a big fan of that pick. So now I've got the Cowboys at 12. And I think this pick's been the same in every single mock draft we've done, because I'm going Ashton Jeanty, the running back at Boise State. I love this pick. He's such a Cowboys player. He's so marketable for the biggest franchise in the NFL. He's going to have a great rookie season. They need running back. It's such a big positional need. You can't wheel out Zeke there for another year. He doesn't even know where he is anymore. Ashton Jeanty will be one of, if not probably the best, one of the best running backs in the NFL day one. Will make this Cowboys team better. And I think bring excitement to what's been a pretty disastrous offseason. If you ask any Cowboys fans, their team has gotten worse. Not sure about that head coaching hire. And I think they need just a bit of life, a bit of excitement. And Ashton Jeanty 100% brings that.
Yeah, Ashton Jeanty last year was the best player in college football, I think.
Yeah,
he's
for the Heisman.
So good. He's so good. And I think when I spoke to Max, PFF, Matt Chidwick, if you want to go check out that interview, then get on the channel. Make sure you subscribe. He made a great point in the sense that, I think that there is an argument to be had about, do you take a wide receiver? Do you take an edge rusher? Do you take a tackle? The more valuable positions. But Ashton Jeanty is that good that I think you kind of can't pass on a blue chip talent like that. I think you take it, and the Lions did it with Jahmyr Gibbs, who was half the prospect that Jeanty is, and that's no shade to Gibbs. And look at them now. There's something to be said for drafting good players and kind of going, sold the positional value. And I think Ashton Jeanty is exactly that kind of player, because he is absolutely incredible. The Dolphins at 13. This is a really easy one for me. I'm going to go with, where is he? Aman Membu, the offensive tackle from Missouri. Membu is I think he fits the Dolphins so well with what they want to do. He is a really athletic tackle. He's really good on the move. The Dolphins obviously love to run outside zone. He's so strong. I think he should play tackle, which the Dolphins need, but he can also play guard because he is 6'3" 3/4, so he's smaller, but he does have those 33+ inch arms to hold up at tackle. He is just his tape is just so fun. Like, he's throwing edge rushers out of the club. In the Senior Bowl, he was blocking guys off the screen. Like, he is so good, Amar Membu. He doesn't look like your traditional tackle, but hey, look, 6'3" 3/4. I'd rather be 6'3" 3/4, have natural pad leverage, be the low man, than be like, I keep forgetting his name, the Jets tackle who's a behemoth who now plays Mekhi Becton. Than be like Mekhi Becton, who's like 6'8" or something ridiculous, and just like can't. And just could never really work it out, despite being a behemoth. Like, give me Amar Membu in that situation every single time. And the Dolphins need to protect Tua Tagovailoa. They need to be able to run the ball better. And those two things are what help you win playoff games, which the Dolphins desperately need to do. So Membu here, I think, is a great fit and a great player.
Wow, the Josh Simmons slide continues. I think that's one of the storyline of this draft. Like Aaron Rodgers in the green room in 2004. Keeps on falling. Okay, now I'm with the Colts here, and I wanted Tyler Warren. If I'm the Colts, I'm gutted and I'll get Tyler Warren. But instead, it's not a bad consolation. Give me Mike Green, the edge out of Marshall.
Oh, I thought you might have gone Loveland there.
No, I think it's too high for Loveland still. I'm a big Loveland guy, but not at pick 14.
People are really high on Loveland.
I know, I don't quite get it, but like, I'm sure we'll draft in the next 5 picks, so it sounds like outrageous.
Yeah.
So Mike Green, great production, great motor, 15 sacks this year. Obviously smaller school, but he has all the skills, all the talent. Watch his Senior Bowl tape, watch his Ohio State tape. He is such a good player. I think at 14 is great value. He's a top 10 player for me. I have him over James Pierce Jr. personally. Maybe he doesn't have the same upside as James Pierce Jr., but right now he's 100% going to commit to that team. And also him and Latu on the edge, good core to build a defense around.
Yeah, I think they complement each other well. Like, Latu's that technician. Mike Green's just that kind of like athlete who like plays with his hair on fire, like spin move against Ohio State, left the Senior Bowl early because he put out such great tape there, ran through Oregon's Josh Connolly Jr. Like, Mike Green, plays at a smaller school. Don't let that fool you. He's such a great player. He's got a really good stable of pass rush moves, and he's got a 20.1% pass rush win rate to go along with that. Like, he's really good, and high school wrestler. Love that. We've mentioned
always
that on
the classic.
Mentioned that on the pod, but I just love that. That gives you some intangibles, understanding how body physics works and biomechanics, and look, I love it. Mike Green. 15, the Falcons. All right, we're really into the meat and potatoes of the draft here. Who's on the board wide receiver wise? We've already lost. I think it's a bit early for Emeka Egbuka. They need edge. I don't know why I'm trying to be cute here. They need edge, and I previously have been a Shamar Stewart guy. So the thing is, for me now, I'm new here, I'm going to think out loud. Okay. It's either, I think, Micah Williams or Shamar Stewart. Previously, I've been a Micah Williams doubter, but when I spoke with Theo Ash, another shameless plug, go check out that.
Friend of the pod.
Friend of the pod. I need to start using that phrase. Friend of the pod, Theo Ash. He's a big Micah Williams guy, and I had to I didn't have to. I rewatched the tape for that chat I had with him. And I kind of see, I see it with Micah Williams. And I think him and Shamar Stewart are weirdly quite similar in the sense that, like, these guys are athletic freaks. I think both are going to blow the combine wide open. Neither really have the production. But I think I'm going to go with Micah Williams here, New. Shockingly. Okay. I've done a bit of a U-turn. I've done a bit of a British government U-turn on Micah Williams. I'm rolling back my previous takes. I do think he's a lottery. I do think he's not there yet. I do think he's quite raw. But I think the highs are really high. I think you're getting a physical freak, which can be the edge one for your team. And the Falcons haven't had an edge rusher since like Vic Beasley in like 2015 when he had like a single good season. So get the Falcons some much needed edge rush help. And Micah Williams might not make that immediate impact. He might be more of a Tyree Wilson than a Trayvon Walker, but I think he could really develop into a fantastic edge rusher when it's all said and done, despite maybe being there some nagging doubts for me. But I'm happy to pass over to friend of the pod, Theo Ash's expertise there.
No, 16. I don't mind. So I'm just going to do my Micah. Don't mind that pick at all. I think post-combine is going to continue to rise up boards. I don't think it's going to be outrageous at all in even 3 weeks' time. Okay, now picks his team with the Cardinals. You got to go Josh Simmons. The fact that he's fallen to 16, I think, is absolutely great value. You need to protect Kyler Murray. Their line was awful last year. I think the biggest highlight of the NFL season last year was Kyler Murray getting his helmet taken off on that corner blitz. I think I saw that on every single Twitter timeline, every single Instagram timeline.
Yeah.
Obviously, that wasn't his fault. That was probably Kyler Murray's fault directly, not the Lions' fault. But you need to protect your 5'10" smaller quarterback with injury problems. And Josh Simmons, who is probably my tackle number 2, tackle number 3, depending on how I'm feeling on the day, I guess, is going to be a great pick for the Cardinals. So I'm more than happy if I'm a Cardinals fan with him at pick 16.
Yeah, I really like that. I think they might need defensive line help as well, but I think offensive line is more important. I think you can maybe add defensive line help through free agency. I think you're right. Protecting Kyler Murray has to be the number one priority. The Cardinals are just aggressively mid, and I think the offensive line and Kyler just running for his life is a massive part of that. He might be able to unlock the offense more, get Kyler Murray throwing to Marvin Harrison Jr. a bit better than they did last year. So I really like that pick. I think that's a good one. Bengals at 17. So it seems they're keeping hold of T. Higgins, which is massive. Because
I still don't believe it. I'll believe it when I see it, Dom. I'll believe it when I see it.
Joe Burrow is doing like a public campaign of saying that the team needs to spend money more, and I think it's going to work. I think T. Higgins will be with the Bengals next year. So then I'm looking at the defensive line. Oh, yeah. And it's Kenneth Grant.
Kenneth Grant. Okay.
You know what? Kenneth Grant, I think, is quickly becoming one of my favorite players. He's one of those guys that when we started knew was like always kind of at the end of our draft. But I think now we've got around to like watching him. Like he's just got such a high floor. Like he's got a really good swim move. I think he's good against the pass. I think he's great against the run. He had a monstrous game against Ohio State. He's going to come into the league and give you that floor of being a really strong run defender, which we both know the Bengals got torn apart on the ground, and just because they had no defensive line help with anyone apart from Trey Hendrickson. And I think he is a developing pass rusher who it might take a year, 2 years, 3 years to get there. But if he does, you've got yourself a fantastic player at 17. Like I feel really good about Kenneth Grant's projection, almost as good as anyone else's in this class, to be perfectly honest with you. Like the Bengals are going to get a great player, which fills a massive need at good value, which is the holy trinity of draft picks.
Yeah, I agree. He oftentimes, Mason Graham takes way of the spotlight. And I think if you're more of a casual NFL fan and Kenneth Grant gets his name called on draft day, you're going to be like, who? He's not getting this media hype, but that does not mean he's a bad player. I'm also such a big fan. I think that's a good pick at pick 17. Okay, now at pick 18 with the Seahawks. Oh, this is hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, because again, there's no line value there. I guess you could go... Actually, could you go Gray Zabel this early?
I don't hate Gray Zabel here, honestly. I don't hate Gray. I think it's a bit early, but I think I know you shouldn't draft for need, but like the Seahawks and interior offensive line is up there with Raiders and Giants for quarterback.
Yeah, so I'm going to ask for your help in this, Dom. So Will Johnson, I have as a top 10 overall player.
He's fallen, man.
Would you draft him at not a position of need at 18, or do you overdraft Gray Zabel, which is a big position of need, but probably at end of the first round talent? I actually don't know, because you've got two good corners there in Seattle.
And you've got Reek Willen and Devin Witherspoon. I don't think you'd go corner here at all.
I think that it's too strong a position. So yeah, Gray Zabel had a great Senior Bowl. He's listed as a tackle there, but he will be a guard. But I think he'll be very good.
I agree with you. I got a suggestion before I click draft.
Yeah.
Jalen Walker is more of a predictive pick. Thoughts?
No, he's not a Seahawks player. The Seahawks never draft.
Mike McDonald is going to be foaming at the mouth for a bloke like Jalen Walker.
Maybe you're right, but I think I'd throw Gray Zabel. I think it's a better position need, and Jalen Walker for me still isn't that much higher than Gray Zabel.
I agree. The only reason why I was suggesting Jalen Walker is because I've seen him on Dane Brugler and Daniel Jeremiah's big board. So where they have these players, he was Daniel Jeremiah's 7th and Dane Brugler's 3rd. It seems that a lot of people are super high on Jalen Walker. I'm definitely not. I assume you agree with me, but I think he's going to be someone that when people look at this mock draft, think he's probably falling beyond where he should be. And I think I could see him going to the Seahawks with how Mike McDonald likes players defense and how having a linebacker is, super important for that. But I think it is a bit early for Gray Zabel, but I think he's the best pure interior offensive lineman in this class. Tyler Booker, eat your heart out. I don't see him as a first rounder. I won't be drafting him in this first round. Maybe New will, but yeah, a bit early. But need, honestly, unfortunately, sometimes is really essential, and the Seahawks bloody need a good interior offensive lineman. That makes my job for the Bucks at 19 really easy, where I'll take Will Johnson. We don't need to say anything about this pick really new. Like, he's fallen, it's fantastic value, he's a fantastic corner. Some would say the best pure corner in this draft class. I don't know if I'd go that far, but I see where people are coming from. Let's put it that way. And you'd sprint the card in at this scenario if you're the Bucks for arguably one of the better players in the draft, all the way down at 19. You're on the clock with the Broncos.
So here are the Broncos. We were talking about them earlier. I'm going Colson Loveland, the tight end, out.
Classic.
I think this is such an easy pick. I think it's great need, great positional value, and also, yeah, I think it's the perfect mix of them both. I think it would slot really easily into that Broncos offense that really needs an extra receiving threat, and also will help out with the run game that are struggling, and also just strikes me as such a a Sean Payton player. Sean Payton, when he was at his best down in New Orleans, and Jimmy Graham had a really good tight end threat. I think Colson Loveland, not a Jimmy Graham level athlete, but of course can contribute. And I think at 20, that is a great pick. One of my favorite picks in this mock draft.
Jimmy Graham, get in the bin.
He was a great player before he
No, I'm not saying it's your pronunciation. It's your pronunciation.
His name's Jimmy Graham. It's not Jimmy Graham. Like,
come on, Jimmy Graham, or it is Jimmy Graham.
Did you say route or route, Dom?
Route.
Exactly. So sometimes you've got to Americanize some words.
True. I mean, Colson Loveland, I think he'll go earlier than this actually now come draft day, because again, big names in the space love Loveland, ironically. And I don't think he's gonna be that tight end that is gonna help out in the run game per se, but he is definitely gonna help out in the pass game. Like, he's been capped by not having a good quarterback this year at Michigan, but he's a good route runner. He's kind of like a more of a Travis Kelce-esque receiver in the sense that he's like a receiving threat, not like a Gronkowski. And I'm not, comparing these guys, but Tyler Warren is more the Gronkowski mold. Loveland is more the Kelce mold. Not saying that either of those players are compared to them or will be them, but just that style of play. And obviously, Bo Nix needs those weapons, and he would be that fantastic option for him. Steelers at 21.
Oh, it's always a hard pick, the Steelers.
This is a hard pick as well, the Steelers. Oh God! Right, hang on. Let me have a look at my note. Wide receiver, but I don't know if. What do you think here? They need a cornerback.
I'm a big Siobhan Revell guy.
I don't think he's going to be a first rounder anymore. I think Jahdae Barron will be taken before. Jahdae Barron's the corner I'd be looking at here, I think.
Yeah, that'd be. I feel like Joey Porter Jr. style mold of player, but that's who I normally would go for with the Steelers. But it is a hard pick. You never really know what the Steelers are going to do. I'm
going to go with Jahdae Barron, the cornerback from Texas. Seen a massive rise. I mean, the Steelers' cornerback room is Donta Jackson, who is not it. And Joey Porter Jr. hasn't exactly started his career as Steelers fans would hope. And I think it just kind of shores up that defense a bit more. I do like wide receiver here, but I think Emeka Egbuka might be a decent shout, but I think you can get a good wide receiver in this class in the second round. And I think that you do have Roman Wilson also, who you didn't really see this year. So I don't think it's as pressing a need as the defense is. So I'm going to take Barron then. I feel pretty good about it.
Yeah, I think that's a good pick. Obviously, I had this big rise that you always got to be skeptical of players that have big rises and big falls and what's going on there, because during the season, you're not hearing a lot about him. And in the last couple of weeks post-Senior Bowl, he's been PFF top 10 player. And he's nowhere near that for me, but I think that's still a good pick at 21. Now, a pick here at 22. I'm going to go a bit out of left field here, Dom. The Chargers were at their best last year when J.K. Dobbins was healthy and they were able to run the ball. And you can't trust that J.K. Dobbins is going to stay healthy the whole year. Double ACL tear. So I'm going to go with Omarion Hampton, the running back of UNC.
Okay.
And I think there'll be a lot of Chargers fans hammering the table saying, why aren't you going Emeka Egbuka? But I think that it's a run-first team with not really a running back. J.K. Dobbins is a good player. He is not a great player. Omarion Hampton does have that top 10 running back in the NFL potential. And him in that Chargers system, it would help Justin Herbert. I think it would help the receiving core. I think that is a home run pick for the Chargers.
You know what? I don't disagree with you, despite all of my running backs don't matter, energy in my body. I think that having done our running back episode, which, check it out, new friend of the pod over there, which we did, we uploaded last week, Hampton would be running back one in and literally another class which doesn't have Ashton Genty in it, basically. And you're right, like he fits perfectly what the Chargers want, like a bell cow, downhill runner, like got the top speed to break those runs away, which J.K. Dobbins, unfortunately due to injuries, just doesn't really have. I think Emeka Egbuka might be what people want, but I think he overlaps too much with Lad McConkey. I think they need a big receiver, which Emeka Egbuka isn't. I think Egbuka's going to be more of a slot guy, which I think you needed a receiver room which complement each other, and I don't think Egbuka and McConkey would. So I don't hate that at all. I think maybe Loveland, if he was on the board, would be better. But
yeah, Michigan. Loveland would be a good pick as well.
You know what, Nu? Sneakily, I don't hate that pick, even though it's a little bit early for a running back.
It's a bit rich, but
for a team that needs quite a lot. But look, I agree with you. I think it's a very what's his name? Hardball pick.
Yeah.
Packers at 23. Similar issue here, I think, for me with Green Bay. Who are the edges that are this is Shamar Stewart. Where's Shamar Stewart?
Yeah,
I'm going Shamar Stewart here. Yeah, this is easy. Like they need an edge. They need an edge that can be an alpha. I think they've got a lot of like rotational guys. They've obviously got what's his face in the middle, Rashawn Gary. And I think he was his best when the defensive line was better around him, basically. So, and I think Shamar Stewart doesn't have the production in terms of sacks, does have it in terms of pressures, though. And like I said, I think he's going to light up the combine, had a great Senior Bowl. I think he's got the physical traits to be an alpha edge one. Not there yet, which is why he's still on the board at 23. But I think that's a great pick at 23 for the Packers, actually. Vikings,
still no wide receiver in the first round for the Packers.
Well, again, Egbuka just overlaps with Jaden Reed, and like I just like again, if there was an alpha guy on the board, I'd draft him, but I don't think there is one at this point.
No, I agree. I think with Egbuka, I think the Bengals is sort of, if he doesn't go to the Bengals, I think you might see a slide. Also, that's T. Higgins related. Okay, now 24 Vikings. God, this is actually quite a hard pick here. I'm not going another running back. I like the running back class, but I'm not doing 3 running backs in the first 24 picks. I'm not that much of a hot take merchant. You've seen Walter Nolan rise up boards.
I don't love Walter Nolan at all.
I don't love him either, but I'm sort of maybe Harrison Smith's getting a bit older. I was thinking maybe that with Harrison Smith's getting a bit older, maybe Malachi Starks.
I quite like Malachi Starks.
The new field general for the Vikings. Yeah, let's go Malachi Starks.
I like that. I think he fits what Flores wants to do really well. He's not going to offer you blitzing ability, which kind of is what Flores wants, but I think more than that, he prioritizes positional flexibility. And Starks can play slot corner. He can even, at a pinch play outside corner. He's got that coverage ability. For me, he's a top 10 player in this draft. It's just the question of when a safety goes. And I love Malachi Starks. I think he's really good, but he doesn't have that blitzing ability which a Brian Branch or a Kyle Hamilton has, which is why he might be viewed as a bit of a lower prospect when compared to those kind of like elite safety prospects. But I love Starks. I think the versatility fits Brian Flores' defense brilliantly. My Texans at 25. This is Emeka Egbuka, I think. I know we need interior offensive line, like really, really badly, but I don't want Tyler Booker, and we could push one of the tackles into guard, but I think we can get an interior offensive lineman in the second, to be honest. I'm reuniting Emeka Egbuka and CJ Stroud, Ohio State duo. Nico Collins is the one, Egbuka is the slot as a 2. We'll see what happens with Stephon Diggs, and we'll see what happens with why am I blanking on his name? Not Tez Johnson. The guy that broke messed up his leg.
Oh, of course. Oh my God, Tank Dell.
We'll see what happens with Tank Dell, but unfortunately, I think we've got to future-proof ourselves here for him either not playing at all or not being the same player he was before his injury. So I think Emeka Egbuka is a great pick. Yes, offensive line is still on the table, but the draft isn't only one round.
Very true. Okay, now me with the Rams. And again, this is a hard pick. The Rams don't know what they're going to do with Stafford. Maybe they might have another high round draft pick. And I'm always so worried about drafting linebackers in the first round. I can't think on recent memory any that have really panned out the way people thought they were going to. Tight end, there's no value. Corner, I guess Trey Amos is still on the board. I wouldn't hate that, but 26 might be a bit rich. But I think you just got to go for the pure athletic ability of Jihad Campbell.
Oh,
I'm a big fan of him, and I think him on the Rams, he could. There's obviously position need. He's a good player, like the fit.
Okay, I kind of don't hate that. I need to watch more Jihad Campbell to give myself a proper take on him, but
He's an athletic freak, Dom. Really good player.
okay. Ravens. Oh God, another wide receiver. Feels like they always need wide receiver, but again,
Always
I
need
don't
wide
think there's
receiver.
value for the wide receiver they need here. Tackle. Yeah, they've got free agents. Edge and cornerback. What do I have the Ravens is needing? Yeah, Ronnie Stanley's a free agent, so they might need a tackle. They have no number one edge rusher, but Nick Skoughton, I'm not sold on myself. Ooh, this is a tricky one for me here, Nu. What am I doing? Josh Connolly Jr.? No, this would be a trade down scenario if this was legit here. I think because this is pretty ugly. The board has not been kind to the Ravens. I would argue.
This is hard.
Matthew Golden as a deep threat.
I think that's what I would do. He pairs quite well with Zay Flowers. I think it's quite a nice one-two punch.
I'm going. I agree with you. I think Golden. I think you're right. Like, yeah, he's not that alpha, but he can. He's got a more slender frame, but he's a great deep threat. I think he would unlock those Lamar Jackson deep shots more. Yeah, it's a pretty tricky pick. I'm not in love with it. I'm not going to lie, but I think it's the best pick for what the board had at the time.
Yeah,
Lions 28.
Lions 28 for me. Don, we did it on our Edge Rushers video. If you haven't seen our Edge Rushers video, check it out.
Yeah,
I feel like we're building quite a good draft portfolio here to fall back on. And we talked about pairing an Edge Rusher number 2 with an Edge Rusher number 1. And my favorite Edge Rusher number 2 in this class is Jack Sawyer, Edge Rusher out of Ohio State. Such a big fan of him, and I think he complements what the Lions need so badly. Him and Aiden Hutchinson on both edges, I think is a nightmare for any team. And with the Lions, maybe they might not be the same team as they were last couple of years with their coordinators leaving, but you're just making your strength stronger, and Jack Sawyer does that 100%.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even like strength stronger, is it? Like when Aiden Hutchinson went down, like no one could get pressure along that defensive line, and Jack Sawyer, like you said, would be the perfect complement to Aiden Hutchinson. Both play with their hair on fire. Like, both are like good against the run. Like, you need someone that can just clean up what Aiden Hutchinson gives you. Basically, like, it wouldn't shock me if Jack Sawyer had like a potential rookie of the year season if he did go with the Lions, not because he was better than a Shamar Stewart or a Mike Green or a James Smith Jr. or an Abdul Carter, but just because he has the most production, because he's playing opposite Aiden Hutchinson. So you just like walk into 7-8 sacks a season because of what Hutchinson's able to produce. So I think that's a great pick. I love it. I love the fit as well, and I know Dan Campbell would love this guy. Wide receiver is such a big need for the Commanders. They have McLaurin. They obviously drafted Luke McCaffrey. But every wide receiver apart from McLaurin and McCaffrey are literally a free agent. Let's have a look at the wide receivers quickly. Elico Amano, I've softened on him as a first-round pick. You'll be glad to see new. Wide receiver at this point is not what I would do. Tackle, edge, and cornerback. Oh, God, this is pretty grim, actually. Oh, balls! I scrolled down. I'm going to go with Josh Connolly Jr. here, I think, which I'm not thrilled by. But this is what happens when you're at 29 in a weaker draft class. Like, you're going to get someone who probably in a usual year wouldn't be a first-round pick. But I do think Connolly is a pretty decent tackle prospect. And I think I think he could start. Like, I think he's a starting caliber tackle. And to get one of those guys with the 29th overall pick, to protect Jaden Daniels, keep him healthy, keep him being the rookie of the year, playing at that offensive rookie of the year level, obviously super important. I'd definitely be big on wide receiver in the second round, though, for them.
Yeah. So I've got the Bills here now. And again, with the Bills, I'm not too happy with the way the board has fallen.
I don't know. There's someone that I'm looking at that I would take here, definitely.
I feel like purely just because he's on the board still, you've got to take Jalen Walker. I think it's not that big a position to need, but
grim.
I think you've got to pick Jalen Walker here. He's far too good to fall to the 30th overall pick. If you look at a team like the Eagles, don't necessarily draft for value, draft best player available, and Jalen Walker is 100% better than the 30th overall pick. And when the real draft rolls around in April, do you think Jalen Walker is going to be there to the Bills? I think he's going to be long gone. So even though I don't think it's the great positional fit, I think you've got to run the card and use him somehow.
Yeah, I'm Walter Nolan. Jalen Walker will be a first round pick and he will go higher than 30. I just don't like Jalen Walker at all. For me, he's a second round player firmly. I think he is the definition of jack of all trades, master of none. Yeah, he's a good blitzer. That is not the same as being a full-time edge rusher, which is where people are projecting him of playing. And really, I think the interior defensive line is way more of a bigger need for the Bills than I would have gone Derek Harmon there. I would to beef them up. And I might do that for the Chiefs. The tackles, I mean, they had a disaster in the Super Bowl because they had no tackles. Who's their guard that was Joe Tooney was playing left tackle, and he has like 32-inch arms, and he was just getting bullied by people like Jalix Hunt, like because they had longer arms. I think tackle is a massive need. I don't think there's one on the board here. I would definitely though flag the Chiefs as trade up potential. I could see them making a big push for an actual good tackle, because if they want to keep winning Super Bowls, they need to have an answer at left tackle. Defensive line, then we got Nate Scarlett on the board. We got Derek Harmon. I want to go with Derek Harmon. I actually think he's a really good interior defensive line prospect. You've got Chris Jones, but I think to have two guys along the interior that can rush the passer and stop the run. Chris Jones also can do a job as an outside on the edge, so you need someone on the inside when he goes out. I think Derek Harmon is a player that for me has risen quite late in the process, but I actually really quite like Harmon there. And then with the final pick, you've got the Philadelphia Eagles on the board.
Well, who knows? This could be the Browns pick. Maybe they'll trade 2-1 for Myles Garrett. I think any NFL fan hopes that doesn't happen. The Eagles here, it's best player available. It's what they always do. I feel like when doing these mock drafts, sometimes you've got to think about what a GM would do. With the Eagles, it's simple. Highest player on the board goes to the Eagles. Doesn't matter if they need the pick. Doesn't matter if they want the pick. That's where they're going. And Walter Nolan is far too good a player, I think. I think 32 to the Eagles. Continues to beef up that defensive interior. Rotating pass rushers always work. Saw it in the Super Bowl. And I think that'd be a good pick.
I don't see Walter Nolan as a first round pick. I know people do. I think he plays like a headless chicken. I think he just doesn't really have a plan. He is really disruptive, but he's not really a finisher. But interior defensive line is probably the only thing that the Eagles don't need. But you're right, Lee. That's exactly how
they don't care what they need.
They'll just take. I mean, I've had Jalen Walker go there, and I think that would be a very Howie Roseman pick. But with the way the board fell, I mean, edge, maybe Nick Skeleton, but I agree with you. Howie Roseman will find a way to make the most insane pick. So to recap, with the first overall pick, the Titans took Travis Hunter. The Browns with the second overall pick took Abdul Carter. The Giants at 3 took Cam Ward. Patriots at 4, Tetairoa McMillan. Jags at 5, Mason Graham. Raiders at 6, Shedeur Sanders. 7, the Jets took Tyler Warren. The Panthers at 8, Luther Burden. Saints 9, James Pierce Jr. The Bears at 10 took Will Campbell. 49ers at 11 took Calvin Banks Jr. Cowboys at 12 took Ashton Genty. Dolphins at 13, Amar Mambu. Colts 14, Mike Green. Falcons 15 took Michael Williams. 16, the Cardinals took Josh Simmons. 17, the Bengals took Kenneth Grant. 18, the Seahawks took Ray Zabel. 19, the Bucks took Will Johnson. 20, the Broncos took Colston Loveland. 21, the Steelers took Jahdae Barron. The Chargers, at 22 took Omarion Hampton. The Packers at 23 took Shamar Stewart. Vikings at 24, Malachi Starks. Texans at 25, Emeka Egbuka. Rams at 26, Jihad Campbell. Ravens at 27, Matthew Golden. Lions at 28, Jack Sawyer. Commanders at 29, Josh Conley Jr. Bills at 30 took Jalen Walker. Chiefs at 31 took Derek Harmon. And Eagles at 32 took Walter Nolan. If you agree or disagree with any of those picks, let us know in the comments. Best mock draft ever is obviously what we get every single time.
I think
looking at those picks,
I don't hate it.
I kind of like all of them, or at least there's a case can be made for any of these picks. You haven't had one of your stinkers which you've had in previous drafts, and honestly, I've had too. So it happens to the best of us. But I'm looking at that draft, and I think it's looking pretty good. But like we say, this is all before free agency. This is before the combine. I don't think you should count things twice at the combine new, but there's always some creepy late riser. And I think with free agency, teams' needs will change completely. If the Seahawks address the interior of the offensive line, well, then that completely opens them up to go a completely different direction. So, and what happens with the quarterback carousel will change things as well. But that's been our pre-combine mock draft. Again, subscribe if you haven't already. Leave a comment. Let us know what you think. But I've been your host, Dom Corbs. That's been my co-host, Nick Corbs. We'll see you on the next one.
See ya.